This is a Dragon Blazer production, and I am the little boogeyman.
All right.
Coming down the aisle, the WCW Podcast Champions of the World, Boomer and Blaze.
Finally, Boomer and Blaze have come back to the podcast world. What's it been, like a year?
Well,
welcome.
I don't think we've
on.
recorded. I don't think it's. We haven't recorded since last year. So
That's right. It's kind of been a year, but welcome finally back again to the Boomer and Blaze show. I am Boomer, and
I'm Blaze.
Lord Blaze, Sith Lord Blaze over there. We got his. Yeah, I got the. Put the lightsaber away, buddy. Wrong podcast. So here we go. We do apologize. Some of that was, the holiday hiatus. It was other things beyond our control.
It was mostly I was sick for a while. Quite a while.
Sick.
So.
1 week I hurt my back and was out for 2 days because we're old and shit happens. But whatever. And
he's trying to steal my sick thunder over there.
And rock and roll. But we made it through it, and now we are back. Guess who's back? Back again. And yeah,
I'm in my
again.
Comfort burrito, though.
Yeah, look. Welcome to the frozen tundra that is Ohio. Fuck this shit. That's all I got to say. My uncle who lives in Florida is going to text me this morning. He's like, it got down to 38 degrees last night, and it's only going to be 50
so
today.
cold.
I'm like, fuck you, it's 8 here. I don't want to hear that it's 50 in Florida. Like
38 degrees,
right
I'm still wearing shorts, motherfuckers. Uh-oh. Oh, no. I think we lost him. Mayday! Mayday! Boomer! Where are you? Boomer, where are you? We got some work to do now. Oh, that's not cool. I'm going to have to stop that.
Okay, here I am. I'm sorry. Please don't be mad.
Oh,
Did I let you all down?
oh thank God.
I don't know what happened,
man.
Forever. I'm not sure what happened. I saw a flashing light and I disappeared, and my ass hurts a little. I don't know where I was. There might have been an anal.
Shit. Okay.
There might have been an anal probe involved in what just happened. I don't know. But
are you sure you want to admit that? I mean, and Cartman has a whole episode called "Cartman Has an Anal Probe," and he denies it through the whole thing. And you're just up, and it's like my ass hurts. It's fine. You did. Clearly, you rolled with it. Oh, shit. And he's gone again.
all right, so I was telling you off air how I had a mixed reaction about the show Ted.
Yes.
And I want to lay it out by saying this. We all know that I'm one of those people. I think funny is funny. I am not one that easily gets offended.
Okay.
I'm just that type of person.
This is starting out great so far. Starting out great.
With that being said, the character of Maddie, who is the father of John, Ted's owner,
yes,
is just a smidge. Just okay. He's really fucking racist. Okay.
Oh,
very racist. He is a white beer drinking Boston. My wife's barefoot, naked in the kitchen. Racist, and I got to admit that in the first episodes, there were a couple of times, and again, I'm a person that does not get offended. There was a couple times I was like, did they just say that?
Can you do that?
Are you allowed to do that? No, I have not read any. I have not read any negative feedback about that particular character. I'm just letting anyone know that may have not watched it yet. If you're sensitive at all to racial jokes, not exclusive to, African Americans, Polacks, Jewish people. If any of that offends you, you may not want to watch this show.
Yeah.
With that being said, I find it hilarious. The very first episode, they forced Ted to go to school with John, and he has the idea of getting himself expelled. And they come up with the plan that if he gets caught with weed, he would get expelled immediately. So that's the first episode. The whole episode is about them getting a hold of weed so Ted can get caught with it, so he gets expelled from high school. That's the first episode.
The second episode, interestingly,
interestingly enough, is the second episode's about porn. The whole episode's about them trying to watch porn.
Yeah, that sounds like Ted stories.
And now this has some great moments too. There's a scene where they're like in the mall shopping, and they're in front of this whole display, and it's all Sega Genesis, like the system and the game, because it takes place in the 90s. So there's a lot of that cool kind of shit in there too.
That's cool. I always like period pieces of the 90s because it's like I was living at that time.
Like still now to this day, the Goldbergs became one of my favorite shows because I lived through all that
80s, right?
Right, but I lived through that stuff too. You know what I mean? So yeah, that stuff's kind of cool. But if you like the Ted movies, you'll love it. It's hilarious. I'm just saying, there's a few cringeworthy moments with that dad, and I can't even remember any of the lines that he said off the top of my head. But yeah, there's a few cringeworthy remarks about certain people. Well, and it's just, and the mom is one of those like really straight and narrow, doesn't cuss or anything people, and one of them really clueless type characters. So it's just, I think it's a great cast, and I think it's hilarious. And again, I don't get offended, so I think all this shit's funny. But there are a few moments that you're like, ooh, if never on network TV would that happen. If this was not a streaming show,
right.
I don't even think you could say some of this shit on FX that the dad says. But other than that, yeah, it's pretty good. I even asked the guy I worked with, who happens to be black, and I'm like, man, have you seen Ted? I think it's hilarious. And he goes, it's funny, man, but that dad, some of that shit ain't cool, man.
Some of that shit ain't cool, man.
Some of that shit ain't cool, man. Yeah, there's just, you have to watch the first episode. There's just this dinner scene where he just goes on this big rant, wow. And yeah, you'll have to check it out. So
I might check it out. So since you brought up a show you're watching, first off, I watched After Midnight. Taylor Tomlinson was awesome, and it was great. Love the have you heard about After Midnight?
I have not, no.
So did you ever watch At Midnight with Chris Hardwick?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
I do remember that. Yes.
After Midnight is a new rebooted. It's the same thing essentially. It's just the show comes on at 12:30 at night instead of 12, so now it's called After Midnight.
After Midnight. Okay, touche. Gotcha.
And the new host is a comedian named Taylor Tomlinson, who's really funny. I've been seeing her a lot on. When I scroll Facebook or TikTok, she shows up in a reel or whatever. She's a stand-up comedian. I like her. She's very funny, and I really enjoyed her on the show. But yeah, it's just, I loved At Midnight, and now she is the host, and it's on. Gotcha. It's on Paramount Plus, so CBS.
Oh, okay, CBS. Yeah, Paramount Plus. Gotcha.
I believe it's after Stephen Colbert. I was watching it before we started recording while I was doing my photoshopping. Anyways.
Gotcha. So yeah, I'll have to check that out. But yeah, Ted, there you go. First season of Ted is available now, every episode. And yeah, you got to check it out. It's fun. The first episode, I paused it because I was laughing so hard to see how far in it. And I was only a few minutes in, and I was already fucking laughing that hard. Still, though, to this day, as much as I love Ted and the character and everything, he does so many voices, but he sounds like Peter Griffin when he's Ted. He really does. Like, I still picture Peter Griffin a little bit when he's doing Ted. I can't help it, but it's great. Yeah. There's this the porn episode, they get fake IDs, and the one they make for Ted, the guy literally put Bob Ross's picture on it and his name and everything, and Ted's like, "What the fuck is this?" And the guy was like, "Well, it was either Bob Ross or a pair of lugs. Take your choice." That was sure too.
All
It's
right.
just fun. And by the way, someone really believed he was Bob Ross with his fake ID. So there you go.
Well, so
Good stuff.
well, back then Bob Ross was probably still alive, or was still alive. Anyways,
Yes,
but
yes, he was.
so this reminds me of a show I'm watching right now that I'd like to rant about.
Uh-oh.
So I've been watching the new season of Fargo. You ever watch the Fargo TV show?
I have not watched it yet. I think I would be into it. I loved the Fargo the movie, but yeah, I've never watched it.
The first season's really good. I think most of the seasons have been pretty good. However, so this new season I'm enjoying. It's got Juno Temple in it. It's got John Hamm. I don't know if you know who Juno Temple is. She was on that Ted Lasso, which is a really good show.
Oh yeah.
But every season of Fargo still takes place in is it Minnesota or whatever it is? North Dakota.
Wherever it's at.
North Dakota, I think it is. Anyways, this season is mostly about Juno Tempo's character is the main character, and essentially she escaped her very, very abusive husband 10 years ago, and essentially her husband's she went into she changed her name and everything, and her husband, who technically is still her husband because she escaped, she ran away, changed her name, and it's kind of like witness protection almost, except for I don't think she did anything.
Gotcha.
I don't think she went to the police or anything. I don't think she's officially witness protection. I think she just escaped, changed her name and all that. Well, he finds her and he's trying to send men after her and everything. It's a very interesting story about a woman who's, escaping a domestic abuser, who apparently also, she was I think 15 when she was when he first got his hands on her, or started quote unquote dating her. So he's just completely all evil. He's a sheriff, and he's played by John Hamm. He's a sheriff, which
Gotcha.
is so he's very powerful. Was one of the reasons he's able to get away with all this stuff. Hard to investigate when the main police officer is the abuser.
True that.
Now, seems like an interesting story, right?
Sounds like it. Yeah.
And she's really good at almost Home Alone style escaping. She's very creative on getting away and everything. Guess how many? I make the mistake of, this about me. I make the mistake of reading IMDb reviews, right?
Yeah.
Guess how a lot of people seem to feel about this season.
God, I don't even know. Offended? I don't know. Upset?
That making your main character a strong woman that escaped an abuser is part of the liberal agenda of shoving down our throats. And that all white men are evil because, well, Fargo's the type of show that almost all characters are pretty shitty. I mean, most of the characters in the show are pretty shitty. Even Juno, who escaped, is not exactly super squeaky clean. I mean, she is, but she isn't. Right. She lied about being kidnapped. So, I mean, but a lot of it's just because she knows how powerful he is, and she doesn't want national attention, all this other stuff. So you get her reasonings and stuff because she's trying to avoid John Hamm. But yeah, that's everybody complaining is oh, this is the fall of Fargo because, they also complain that there's no way this 96-pound woman is able to kill these attackers and everything. They're strong. They're big men. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what though? It's a fucking TV show. These are the kind of people I can't stand. It's just a fucking TV show. What does it matter? Guess what? Superman's not real. Neither is Batman. Neither is fucking. Come on, it's a fucking TV show. Now, if you don't like the story itself, that's fine. But don't say it's because of liberal. Blah 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 blah. Blah. If it's not a good story, that's fine. But don't turn it into some bullshit. It's not. It's a TV show. You know, like
here's what I would like to start doing. Okay, this is what I would like to start doing, because here's the new argument when men complain about strong women characters. It's like, it's about the writing, it's about this, it's not because we're sexist or anything like that. They're like, we all liked Ellen Ripley and who's the other one they like to go to? Oh, Sarah Connor. Sarah Connor, yeah, but Ellen Ripley.
There's a lot more than that. I like that. What's wrong with those kind of men? Is what I want to know, because I fucking love a strong, kick-ass female lead.
Right.
I could name a million of them. Like, come on, what? Well, I love that stuff. Are you kidding me?
These are the same people complaining about like, the new thing is calling the Marvel universe the MCU, because they've been adding a lot more female heroes.
I actually had a little example of it the other day at work. Not to change the subject, but I was talking about the new Equalizer movie with Denzel, and this guy I worked with said, "Yeah, I'll probably check that out, but I've never watched that show because really, Queen Latifah." There's another example of it because they cast Queen Latifah as the Equalizer. It's a fucking killer show. I'm just saying, but that's an example of it. I just happened to hear is right away. The guy was like, "I will never watch that because really, Queen Latifah is the Equalizer. Why? Because it's a woman. Why? Because it's Queen Latifah." Like, she can't be. By the way, it is a good show. She's badass in that, and again, I love that shit. So, I guess it's a view, right? It's a matter of just know that all men aren't the ones that are like, oh, how can you? I love a strong female lead. I love that.
Yeah. We're simps. That's what they call us, is simps. That's
what they call us.
We're simping for women because we think that it will get us in their pants. Is what we are.
Not really. I just think it's badass. I've just always loved it. I just think
right.
I just love that shit.
Well, I would like to just go on there and start like agreeing with them. Like, you're right. I hated the liberal agenda of Ellen Ripley or Laurie Strode. How did she survive a white man coming after her? That man is big and strong, and somehow she wins. She fights him. She defeats him. Like, the liberal agenda, But
yep.
But here's the thing.
God.
There's a reason characters like Ellen Ripley, Sarah Connor, Laurie Strode became popular in the 80s and the late 70s. It's because what's a more interesting storytelling? Giant ass Arnold. No, don't get me wrong. I love Arnold Schwarzenegger, but giant.
No. But I know where you're going with this, and I agree.
Like beating the shit out of a bunch of people, or someone who is much smaller, less physically. There's a reason Die Hard is so popular, because
we brought that up a million times. Bruce Willis was the first.
Odds is a more interesting storytelling, than fucking Rambo going off on everyone.
And Bruce Willis was the first action star that me and you, the average Joe, could relate to, because he didn't look like Arnold. I was never going to look like Arnold, but I could be fucking John McClane. I could do that, but I could never be the Terminator or Rocky, And it's the same thing with these strong female leads. Like, exactly your point. It makes it more exciting. And even if it's not a female, I'd rather see that smaller guy. Was Jackie Chan ever a buff, big, intimidating guy? Nope, but he's gonna fuck everybody up.
He's intimidating because he's got skills, man. He's got skills.
Still, but you know what I'm saying? Even if I like that underdog, I like that not your typical action hero or not your typical lead in a television series or whatever. I like that story, and I like that kind of So those people are just dumbasses that need something to complain about. That's all.
There's a reason why in horror movies, Final Girl is your most popular genre, because she is the one that you don't think would survive, and she's the one that overcome odds. Odds is good storytelling.
Right. Yeah, think about that. Why is it probably 97% of horror movies, it's always just one woman that lives and not none of you men. Just saying. Just saying. So I agree. But for sure.
That just means horror movies are all part of the liberal agenda. So
that's right. They're all, Jason is such a liberal fuck. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, since we're talking about, it's kind of a nice segue. Since we're talking about television, I sent you a picture with 3 cast members, just kind of dressed up. You know, it was like that. I know you know the one I'm talking about.
I
Bunch
think
of
I
people
know
in
what you're
tuxes
talking
and
about.
yeah. This is just going to be real quick because I obviously do not watch the Emmys really, but I saw this on social media and everything. And I thought it was very cool. They paid tribute to a bunch of different sitcoms at the Emmys last night with their songs being performed from the series and everything. And cast got back together, and there were several of them. We got to see Cheers, The Sopranos, Grey's Anatomy, Martin, and there's right there. That's Martin and
Grey's
Cheers and Grey's
Anatomy.
Anatomy. So. Yeah, that's Grey's Anatomy up in the corner there, reunited. Yeah, so they did that last night at the Emmys. I thought that was a pretty cool moment. So I just wanted to share that. I didn't watch them, like I said, but cool little thing there, a little bit of nostalgia. Martin was a great show back in the day. I'm a big Cheers fan, but that's because
I never watched it.
I'm
Cheers,
a big Cheers fan, but I'm old. You know, well, you're not a sitcom guy anyway.
Yeah,
of course, Grey's Anatomy wasn't a sitcom, but
when I was younger, I used to love Family Matters, Step by Step.
Good old
when I was a kid,
TGIF stuff.
There was stuff I liked.
Yeah.
I watched. I wanted to say Family Feud, but you know, the one with the Olsen twins. I used to watch that.
Yeah, Full House. Yep,
Full House. That one.
Yeah. So.
I used to watch sitcoms as a kid. It's as I grew up and I was like, and they had throw in this laughter from the studio. That's when I was like, I also really enjoyed. I remember watching All in the Family with my mom. So I've watched a lot of sitcoms, mostly with my mom. It's more as
by
I
the
grew
way,
up,
though,
I was like, nah.
You're not the only one because I just read an article about that, about how the laugh track thing is now phasing out.
That's a good thing.
The only current sitcom still on TV that uses laugh tracks is The Conners. Now we're talking about actual television, not streaming. Now, see, they didn't used to bother me, but I'll tell you, there's been a couple Netflix series that I tried to watch that were sitcoms, and they overkilled the laugh track to make me to where I couldn't even watch the shows because it was too much. Like they threw too much laugh track in there that it was annoying. So, but anyway, there's our little Emmy moment. We're going to move on, and we're going to talk about the merger we've been waiting for. We knew this was going to happen with the XFL and the USFL. We knew this was going to happen.
Quick rant.
And,
the only
time, go ahead.
The only time the laugh track is okay is on Scooby Doo, because I think it's just funny that you throw a laugh track on a cartoon. So that's where it's okay. And I ended up watching a sitcom with my father when I was at his house, and they used the laugh track, and it was terrible. The show is
sometimes it's overkill.
Good. But that new show, Extended Family,
I haven't checked it out yet.
Oh man! Now maybe you'll like it because you do like sitcoms. I don't. It was bad, and I love. They had Donald Faison on it, and I love Donald Faison. He wasn't good enough to save it. It's just really cheesy acting. I only watched the first episode, but it's bad. It's all the reasons I hate
all the reasons I hate sitcoms rolled up into one, right? I get you.
Exactly. But
all right. Well, now onto the merger. You know what's interesting about this merger to me is the fact that The Rock listened to you, because we discussed this several weeks ago, maybe even months ago, and you mentioned that if the USFL and XFL merged, you would like to see them keep that as the conferences. Look, they did. The Rock listened to you. So the combined league is called the UFL, but we do have the USFL conference and the XFL conference. Unfortunately, it's only going to be 8 teams for now. But as you see, what we were hoping for, we actually have 2 choices if we want to root for a local team. We have the Michigan Panthers and we have the Memphis Showboats. So, I mean, those are both, close. So basically, they kept.
I don't know if I can root for Michigan.
What was interesting to me about this is the USFL had a Houston team, but they chose to keep the XFL team, but moved them to the USFL. The Roughnecks were an XFL team.
I see that. Yeah.
And in The Rock's video, it just said they decided, since both leagues had a Houston team, they wanted to keep the Houston team, but they decided to keep the Roughnecks. So technically, only 3 of these teams came from the USFL.
What was the Houston team name? Maybe they just kept it because the other one was terrible.
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head what it was, but yeah, they just decided it was probably a marketing thing,
I can't believe they stuck with only 8 teams. Like, why didn't you add more teams? Like, you had more teams to choose from. You could have chose more teams from the USFL. I mean, XFL would have had to go. I don't know how many teams were in the USFL.
So the USFL also had 8. They both had 8 teams. So you could have had a 16-team league if you wanted.
Well,
but
they would have had to move teams around, I think.
Side note: the Houston team in the USFL was the Gamblers. So I guess I would have stuck with Roughnecks too. I would. That's a good call. I would.
Yeah.
But and it doesn't surprise me that the Brahmas are still there because, of course, we all know that team was named after The Rock. But the Renegades and the Battlehawk and the Defenders are all actually original. Well, not original, but they're all XFL teams from when Vince brought it back. So,
yeah.
So there you go.
Sad
I knew they were going to keep the Defenders because this is a good old snake, the beer snake. That's why they kept the Defenders.
They took away the Vipers and they took away the my sea
Your
dragons.
sea dragons are gone. Your sea dragons are gone.
All the teams that I thought I was going to like. So now what
the Vipers don't. The Vipers didn't surprise me because they had nowhere to play. Like that stadium in Vegas was horrible. The Sea Dragons was kind of a shock, but again, since they decided to only keep, but they can add. They're probably going to see how this goes before they add more teams because they still own them all. I mean, you can add them anytime you want, so it's going to be interesting. But there you go. We do have, and by the way, the first game of this season will be the Renegades against, I want to say the Stallions. It's going to be the XFL champs against the USFL champs from the previous season in the first game. I want to say it's the Stallions, but I can't remember for sure. I know it's the Renegades. But anyway, there you go. There's our new league combined, the USFL and the XFL.
I guess I can try to be a Panthers fan, even though it's Michigan, but Panthers are kind of cool and they're really close. So,
I mean, so's the Showboats, man. You could be a
Memphis,
a Memphis Showboat.
I feel like Memphis is a few states away, isn't it? Where Michigan's right above us.
Yeah, Michigan's probably closer, but whatever. Either or, we still have an IoT, maybe someday. But all right, we're going to move on to the NFL. And man, the playoffs were kind of wild in that first round, weren't they? Congratulations to the Browns for going to the playoffs. Just to get your butts kicked.
Well,
but that wasn't the only one. I mean, a couple of those games surprised me. Green Bay whooping that ass in the playoffs as well.
Green Bay beating the Cowboys was great.
Badly. And listen, I got a lot of joy out of it because those Cowboy fans love to hate me because I've said for a long time, I don't care what Dak looks like in the regular season. When it comes to when it counts, Dak sucks. Yeah. I know it's not all Dak, but at the end of the game, who was up there saying it was my fault? Dak was. Overrated, and he got his ass handed to him. That's just what happened. Kansas City destroyed Miami. The Texans destroyed the Browns. The Bills destroyed Pittsburgh. Like the only close game in the first in that first round was Detroit and LA.
Yeah, it was actually kind of a disappointing playoff weekend because it was all dominations. But I always love seeing Pittsburgh dominated, so that was nice.
The dominations followed by some firings, and
I kind of expected Kansas City because the cold. Miami is a warm weather team.
You're on the same page as me. I said if this game was in Miami, maybe, but in Kansas City in that fucking weather, which we'll share the picture of Patrick Mahomes' helmet in a minute. That I said that was how cold it was in Kansas City. That I expected. To be honest, though, and I'm not a Browns fan, but I like to support them. I thought the Browns and Texans was going to be a totally different game.
I did too.
But I thought it would be a totally different game. I did not expect it to be a total domination like that. So that one kind of shocked me.
I was kind of rooting for the Browns, but I was also rooting for CJ Stroud. So it was kind of a win-win for me.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, I would like to see CJ Stroud beat the Baltimore Ravens. Let's go Texans.
Yeah. I'm on that Texans train right now. I always try to root for the AFC. If the Ravens happen to go, then it's not going to happen. Not going to root for them. Sorry.
I can't do it. Yeah, I can't.
But
do it.
my favorite story right now though is the Lions. I'm not gonna lie. It's just I think a really great story. I love their coach because he's not your typical NFL coach. I love that Jared Goff is winning now because I thought when the Rams traded, I thought, why would you do that? You're picking an older quarterback over your young quarterback. So I just kind of like the story of the I like the story of the Lions. I should have shared it. This is really weird. I watched a Facebook video today talking about how the Super Bowl was going to be in Vegas at Alliance Stadium and all that. So it was kind of like a commercial, but I shit you not. In this Facebook video I saw today, it said that the matchup for the Super Bowl would be the Ravens and the 49ers. It said this in this ad. So if that really happens, there's proof that the NFL's rigged. I need to go find this Facebook video. I shit you not, I saw it today. It said in this video that the Super Bowl will be the Ravens. It wasn't like a prediction. It was stating it like this was already a fact. It was a commercial for the Super Bowl in Las Vegas. And it said in there, the Super Bowl this year is the Ravens versus the 49ers.
In fairness, those are the two number one seeds. So if they were going to guess two teams, that's who you would guess.
It could have just been a mistake.
Yeah.
You know,
I'd like to
see it a little weird, but
I'd like to see Lions Texans based on who's left.
Lions, that would be cool. I mean, I wouldn't hate San Francisco. I wouldn't hate San Francisco either, just because Brock Purdy is also another good story. I mean, hell, that whole look at the NFC, all of them are a great story. You got Baker Mayfield and Love, the Green Bay Packers quarterback. When's the last time that happened with any franchise? You went from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers, and now Love looks like he's your next. Like he tore it up in the playoffs, man. That was insane. Oh, yeah, so there's a bunch of good stories on the AFC side. The best story is CJ. He's a rookie. The Texans are hands down the best story in the AFC. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
If I would go ecstatic if they can beat the Baltimore Ravens.
Oh ecstatic. Yeah, and I will totally root for Houston all the way through, no problem, because they're in the AFC and we got a Buckeye leading the way. So yeah, I could get behind Houston for sure. CJ looks amazing. But yeah, let's pull up that fucking picture let's show Patrick Mahomes' helmet and how it just cracked during the game. Well, it didn't just crack, but it got hit and shattered. And that's how cold it was. Like they changed Buffalo's game because they said it was dangerous conditions because it was snowing. But to me, if it's so fucking cold, then the NFL helmet can crack. Should we really be playing that game? The players are going to be fine when you're out there playing. You can't tell when you're bundled up. But what about the people in the stands? Like, should people really be attending the game? Like, it's 2024, and I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet, but I picture someday, whether we're around for it or not, there you go. I mean, a big old chunk. I feel like someday every NFL team is going to have a stadium with a retractable or open roof. I think someday that's going to happen. I think the days of that's just something I see. Now, it could be years and years down the road, but I feel that someday when you think about it, not only is it good for these cold places, but if everybody had a situation like that, you could literally have a Super Bowl anywhere. You wouldn't have to limit the Super Bowl to all these warm places all the time because of weather. You could literally have it anywhere if everyone had domes or retractable roofs or whatever. But there you go. That's how fucking cold it was in Kansas City, but they still got it done. So it's going to be exciting to see what happens next. All right, we're going to move on. See it all now? All right, so here we go. We're going to discuss wrestling. There's no way we haven't recorded for a month. We're not going to be able to cover everything that's happened.
Right,
so I'm going to try to do like a quick recap of all this. So the last pay-per-view of 2023 for AEW was called At World's End. And at that pay-per-view, we saw Samoa Joe dethrone MJF. Of course, I mean, I knew it had to come to an end. MJF has several injuries going on. His contract's about to come up. There's this whole, is he going to stay? Is he going to go? But as we all know, and I don't know why, I'm just not a huge Samoa Joe fan. I don't know what it is. I never have been. I don't hate the guy. I'm just not a huge fan. The best thing he does to me is when he does the walk away. He does is like the best thing he does to me. But it's okay. You know, he's over. The fans love him. But he won the title, and they revealed a new belt. And as you can see, it's back on the black strap now instead of kind of the one that matched MJF's scarf. And then something I found interesting that they're doing now all of a sudden, you can't really tell that well in this picture, but they added the side plates to the AEW Championship that can be changed. So those side plates there actually say Samoa Joe. So they're kind of copying. Before those were just AEW, and that was it. They were a standard. So now they actually have the removable plates. So there you go. A little bit of some other AEW news real quick. At that same pay-per-view, Adam Copeland took on Christian in a no DQ match for the TNT Championship. And it was just kind of a cool moment because Edge came out in the same gear he wore when he fought Mick Foley at WrestleMania in that hardcore match. The famous one where he speared Foley through the flaming table. Edge wore that gear for his match against Christian. Edge won the TNT Championship, and then he immediately lost it right back. I didn't like the way they did this. At the beginning of the pay-per-view, they had a battle royal for a future TNT champion. So kind of like Money in the Bank, but for the TNT title. It was won by Killswitch, and Killswitch, by the way, is Luchasaurus's new name. He still dresses just like Luchasaurus, but for some reason now they're calling him Killswitch, which is the name of Christian's finisher. Long story short, Adam wins, and then Killswitch cashed in his championship match. He let Christian have his championship match, and Christian won the belt right back. So there you go. The ultimate heel in the business today is Christian, I'm just saying. So, and then we have a little bit of other AEW news this past week on the main event of Dynamite. Sting and Darby Allin were in a tag team match, and of course they won. Giovanni went in the ring to interview Sting and was asking him if he has picked his opponent yet for his final match, which is coming up at Revolution. And as Sting went to give an answer, the Young Bucks music hit. They haven't been around for months and months and months. They've been out of action. Their music hit, and they came out, and there was a stare down. So it looks like we can all assume that Sting's final match is going to be Sting and Darby Allin against the Young Bucks. Some people are upset. Some people wanted to see Sting versus Darby, but I've said on this podcast, you can go back in the archives. I said a long time ago, Sting had no interest in ever facing Darby. That was never the plan. As much as I would like to see a singles match, this is Sting's choice. Don't get it twisted, people. If you want to complain and all that, Sting picking his final match. Sting has full say in what he wants his final match to be. So if Sting thinks he should go out facing the Young Bucks, then I'm going to totally support it. That match has not been officially announced, but it looks like that's the direction they are going to go. So there you go. We're going to move on to something we don't normally talk about. Usually I just joke about it, but we're going to talk about TNA. Now, for years, just real quick, we got to understand that it's actually been Impact Wrestling. They got rid of TNA years ago. So then about a few months ago, they advertised TNA was returning, and the first pay-per-view was going to be Hard to Kill. And they kept teasing this big signing. Well, at the end of Hard to Kill, Moose, that's this guy's name, Moose, he won the TNA championship. Then all of a sudden, some music hit, and out of the crowd comes
show the world. Here to show the world.
Here to show the world. Going now by the most wanted man, Nick Namath showed up, aka Dolph Ziggler. He is now in TNA. To me, that's a pretty good signing for TNA. And he said after this in an interview that he's interested in working the independent scene. So right away, that's why he went to TNA, because when you with TNA, you could wrestle anywhere you want. But I think it was pretty good. And to be honest, let's talk about this. There were 3 former stars from the WWE that showed up. Okay, there were 2 former stars and this other guy that used to be in WWE that showed up at Hard to Kill. Also debuting at Hard to Kill was Dana Brooke. If you remember Dana Brooke, she showed up at Hard to Kill in the audience, and she is now signed with TNA. And then the other one was Top Dollar, who nobody remembers from whatever the hell their name was. He was the guy that used to host Most Wanted Treasures. I can't even remember what that faction was called he was in, but so there you go. There's the TNA news. Dolph, formerly known as Dolph, Nick, now in TNA. All right, so we're going to move on, and we're going to talk some WWE real quick. It was a couple weeks ago at this point, but as we all saw, The Rock returned again. And now the rumors are, now I can't confirm everything, but the rumors now are that The Rock has officially signed a contract for another match. And he keeps saying in interviews, we're going to do something that's never been done before. I think it's been a long time since I've been this excited during WrestleMania season, because I don't know what's going to happen at all. because of all the returns and everything, like, where are we going? Like, if The Rock's getting Roman and if Punk's going to get Seth, where does that leave Cody? You know, if that's the plan. It's interesting for me to think about where this is going to go. And I'm very intrigued about the official and main event that was announced for the Royal Rumble, because we're going to have a fatal 4-way, which intrigued me even more. Do I believe they're going to take the belt off Roman before Mania? No, but I believe it's a possibility in this fatal 4-way, because it's going to be Roman defending against AJ, LA Knight, and Randy Orton at the Royal Rumble. So what if, my fantasy booking, what if The Rock caused Roman to lose the belt in that fatal 4-way somehow? Roman doesn't have to be the one that gets pinned, and Roman could still be protected. But what if you took the belt out of the equation, and then Roman and Rock still face at WrestleMania, just not for the title? Yeah. They're not going to do that, more than likely, but it could make things interesting. Unfortunately, this past week on Raw, Seth defended the title against Jinder Mahal, which blew the internet up. Like, everybody thought they were going to let Jinder win the championship. That was never in the plans. But unfortunately, Seth was injured during that match. And right now, it's not known what the severity of that injury is. But follow me along here. I love Seth Rollins. I hope Seth isn't hurt. And I would hate for Seth to be out and have to miss WrestleMania. So don't get me wrong. I don't want to see anything like that happen. All I'm telling you is I'm excited because my source told me that the early talks are, if Seth is going to be out for 6 to 8 months and not be able to make Mania, then the early rumblings, the early plans are that the Royal Rumble may be for the World Heavyweight Championship instead of for a title shot if Seth's injury is severe.
Ooh.
I would not totally hate that. That's only happened twice ever, and of course, once was when the title was vacant and Ric Flair won, and of course, the other time was when Triple H made Roman defend the title in the Rumble. That's the only 2 times that's ever happened. So hopefully, Seth's not hurt. I don't want that to happen, but it could definitely add an interesting twist.
Yeah.
So we're gonna see where it goes. Like I said, the early plans are Seth versus Punk at WrestleMania, and we all got to assume that it's going to be Rock and Roman. Maybe a triple threat. Maybe Cody will get thrown in there too.
Maybe.
I just hate, and I can't get on that finish your story campaign again because I did it last year and it never happened. So I can't do it again. But I don't know if Cody's going to get to finish the story or not. I mean, if The Rock's in and we're having a match, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see where it goes. That's for sure. And hopefully Seth's not hurt and we don't have to worry about that. But we're going to see. All right. Well, I think that's all I have. Like I said, I wasn't going to go into everything that's happened these last few weeks. If you haven't been watching WWE, Punk has been blowing up the promos like he's done his whole entire career. He's one of the best on the mic.
Yeah.
No doubt. I mean, if I was going to do a Mount Rushmore of talkers, Punk would be on there. No doubt. So there you go. All right. Well, I think I've rambled about everything I need to ramble about. That means we only have one thing left. And we haven't done this in forever either. We all know what time it is. Do you know what time it is? Check your watch. It's not clobbering time. It's time for the Sheik Tweet of the Week.
Sheik Tweet.
Sheik. You know, I haven't even been looking at the Sheik's Twitter feed because we haven't done the show. So I was like, I'm going to have all sorts of choices.
Yeah.
I'm going to go look for a Sheik tweet because we haven't done it in a while. And I think I found a good one. I think everybody should get this reference unless you're too young to know anything about the song this is from. But this week's Sheik tweet is, if you wish you had Jesse's girl and don't know where to find a woman like that, you are a dumb son of a bitch. Words of wisdom.
If you wish you had Jesse's girl.
Yeah.
I don't know where I can find a woman like that.
You are a dumb son of a bitch. I don't know if I remember that line in the song. I'm going to have to go back and listen. I don't know if I remember the dumb son of the bitch part.
It's the Sheik edit.
That's the remix, right? The Sheik.
The Sheik edit. Sheik remix. Absolutely.
Got it. That makes sense. All right. Well, we did it. We made it through our opening, and we are about to go hop back onto the NWA/WCW train. And it's another Starrcade, kids. It's another Starrcade.
Indeed it is.
Well, we all know they've been rough, so we're going to see how this goes. But hey, we get another Skywalker match. We're all excited about that.
I mean, I am happy because you mentioned that this Starrcade only has like 7 matches, and
It's
the
a
last
normal
ones,
pay-per-view, yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
the last bunches of them, they've been like way too many matches,
4 hours, 14 matches.
and a bunch of those matches are a bunch of
Just like
filler crap that nobody cares about.
that nobody cares about. Yeah, so hopefully this is going to be a little better. So here we go. Yeah, Starrcade 87, Chi-Town Heat.
Indeed.
So there you go. All right. Let's check it out and see what happens. All right, so here we go. Starrcade 1987 Chi-Town Heat. There's a couple things I want to talk about before we get into the pay-per-view. For one, this was actually the first Starrcade on pay-per-view. All these other Starrcades we watched were on closed circuit television. I still don't know how that worked back in the day, but this is actually the first Starrcade you could purchase on pay-per-view. Also, right before this pay-per-view went down, Jim Crockett ended up buying the UWF, which was, of course, another wrestling federation back in the day. So we're going to see some UWF titles in this pay-per-view and some familiar faces that are new to the NWA because of him buying this other company. So there you go. We started off right away with some pyro. We're getting a little better, right? Everybody doesn't look like my uncle that's drunk at the family reunion, and we got some lights and some music. It keeps getting better and better. We had a few rough ones, but we're getting there, right?
Yeah,
Getting a
yeah.
little better. We have Tony. Your favorite commentators are gone. It's now Tony Schiavone and Jim Ross, so we're not going to get any more of that's
No
right or
doubt
whatever.
about it.
No doubt about it. That's out the window because we got good old JR and Tony now, who, by the way, kids are still announcing together today on AEW. Jim Ross has not been doing as much lately, but there you go. So here we go. Our first match is a 6-man tag. It's Eddie Gilbert, Larry Zbyszko, and Rick before my brother Scott was around, Steiner. This is early Rick Steiner. And they're taking on the fabulous Freebirds. And ladies and gentlemen, it's Sting! Sting, our first appearance of Sting in this 6-man tag. And the ladies were going crazy for Sting and for the Freebirds. I'm not a female, so I can't tell you what's sexy, I guess. But man, the ladies liked Michael P.S. Hayes. Like, they liked them, that hairy chest, blonde hair.
I guess.
Fella, they were going crazy.
This is the 80s, so,
Yeah. When Michael Hayes moonwalked in the ring, I thought panties were going to go flying. They didn't. That's what I was waiting for. He did that little moonwalk. This was a good way to start a pay-per-view. For once, we got a kickoff match that was fast-paced. It was exciting. And like I said, you could tell wrestling's changing, not just because we know a few more of these people, but like everybody wasn't dressed in the same fucking plain tights. And you could tell everybody apart. You know what I mean? Like, we're getting characters now. We're getting different gear. We're getting definitions of people in the ring instead of everybody just looking like leftovers from a bad porn. So that part is good. And it was exciting the whole time. It got out of control several times, which is normal in these 6-man tag team matches. I think you already know what I'm going to complain about is the ending, because I don't get the point of the ending. But again, though, we don't watch
unless it's to continue a feud. I mean, we're not
to continue
watching
the feud. Now, I do barely remember, and they mentioned in here that they talked about how Sting was with Rick Steiner and Eddie Gilbert, and of course he left because Sting's a babyface. He can't. So that's part of the story here, is that Sting has separated himself from Eddie and Rick.
So it probably was to continue a feud then.
Yeah, it was a good match. It had a story behind it. I just wasn't a fan of it. I could see where it was going after a while. I'm like, yeah, they keep talking. Anytime, here's a little inside ball for you folks. We don't really have time limits too much anymore, but if there's ever a match with a time limit and they talk about the time limit all the way through the match,
something's going to happen.
Most than likely, you're getting a time limit draw more than likely. That's what happened here. But
you're either getting a time limit draw, or you're going to get a pin that happens right at the final second.
Right at that little final hair. So, but it was still done well, because there were a couple times, again, that you got chaos when it's a 6-man. So there were a few times the ref was distracted and someone should have got the win. There was one point where Michael Hayes had Larry Zbyszko pinned and he thought he got the 3, but Zbyszko's foot was over the rope. I kind of didn't get when Rick Steiner got tagged at the end. He went for the devastating bear hug, and I'm like, there's 45 seconds left. Are you really going to slap a bear hug on? I think he might go for a little. I thought he was going to do a belly to belly, is what I thought he was going for.
Oh yeah,
But,
yeah.
Instead, he went for the sleeper hold. But fast paced action, a good way to take into it. And now we're getting to see these more familiar faces. Everything looks a little better. I told you we were going to get better, man. We're getting there. We just have to get through these. Got to get through these early days.
We're getting
but I'm kinda
close
worried
to
I know
where
it's
it's
gonna be
now officially WCW instead of.
Yeah, I think the next Starrcade that we do, it'll be WCW. I could be wrong, but yeah, we're
No.
pretty close. It's either the next one or the one right after. But
Now, is the next pay per view we do WCW wise is it Starrcade, or because I know right around the end of the '80s is when we start getting other pay per views.
yeah, actually, the next one we get, it'll be our first one that's not. Yeah, we do start getting the new pay per views. The next thing we get is the Bunkhouse Stampede. Yep. So you are correct. 1988 is when we start getting pay per views. We'll have Bunkhouse Stampede, and then we'll have our first Great American Bash. So we are now getting into more pay per views in this.
So
next
we're
year.
done
So
with
there you
just
go.
Starrcades. That's cool.
We're done with just Starrcade. Yep. Now we're going to actually get on to other pay per views. So
After this one, I mean, right now we have
after this one, yeah.
Technically, we have a
And then,
Starrcade.
of course, we have to go back, and then you know, but we got it. Yeah. So
Now, are those 88s, or is that
those are 88s?
Okay,
88.
I wasn't sure
Yep.
if there's maybe one of those before we end the 87, but
Nope. So we still only have this in 87, and then we start getting multiples. So that's something for us to look forward to as well. So there
the
you go.
more you know.
Also, no more Skywalker matches. So we have that to look forward to as well. We have this one, but then that's it. It took 2 times. Sometimes you don't realize how stupid an idea is until you try it twice, and then you're like,
Right.
nope, we were right. It's not a good fucking idea. Never mind.
That was really dumb, but maybe we can do it better.
Right. And I'm going to retract a little bit too now that we go back to this match, because I said I wasn't a big fan of the ending, but look at the crowd and how on fire the crowd was even afterwards. Like the crowd didn't care that it was the time limit draw, because these guys were still going at it and everybody was still hyped up. So it worked. And like you said, it's to continue a story, I'm sure, because we're not watching weekly, TV and all that. So there you go. It continues the story, and it was a good kickoff. It really was. That's how you want to start. You want to start with getting the crowd pumped up, and what better way to do it than the man called Sting?
Now, I'm looking forward to some more singles action Sting, because I don't feel like this really showcased him very much.
It didn't.
And I saw some of Sting when he was in his crow face, but I never really got to see a lot of Sting because I didn't watch a lot of WCW. So I'm looking forward to seeing what all the hype's about.
You haven't really got to see Flair yet either. Like, we've seen Ric Flair matches, but Ric Flair's not that character yet. We still don't have the guy that comes out and woos and yells on the promos and all that. We've gotten some Ric Flair stuff, but not that. And I think really it happens when Sting and Flair start feuding. They both pick their game up. So we're going to get there. I'm worried that this main event's not going to be real good either. Ric Flair's in it, but I don't think it's going to be a great Flair match. So
yeah,
we'll see. That's what we have to do.
Who's Ric Flair facing?
It's Ric Flair and rugged Ronnie Garvin in a steel cage
oh gosh,
for the NWA World Title.
Okay.
Yeah. I also find it interesting that we have 2 steel cage matches, 4 titles, and they decided to do them back to back. So I guess it's a double main event kind of. I just think 2 steel cage matches back to back might not be the best idea, but we'll see how it plays out. Anyway, as far as this one goes, I thought it was a good kickoff match. It was exciting. It was entertaining. Like, it wasn't a 5-star Tokyo Dome match, but it served its purpose. And I'm going to give this 3 stinger splashes, even though we didn't get to see any stinger splashes. But I'm going to give them 3 anyway.
I'm going to give this 2.5 fabulous chest hairs.
Fabulous. That's some intense chest hair on both of those.
I understand.
Both of those guys. I think you could make a coat out of the chest hair off of Ronnie Garvin or Jimmy Garvin and Michael Hayes. You'd probably just take all that and make a coat out of it, I guess.
Perhaps.
Rick was a little hairy. Rick Steiner was jacked, wasn't he? Like, my goodness, Rick looked like baby Brock Lesnar. Like, what the
Baby Brock Lesnar.
super? Well, yeah, because he's not as tall as Brock, but he was pretty. You know.
No, I get it. No, I get it. I gotcha.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see what's next on Starrcade. All right, so here we go. We just talked about how Jim Crockett purchased the UWF right a few weeks before this pay-per-view. So here we have the UWF Heavyweight Championship match, and it's Dr. Death Steve Williams defending against Barry Windham. Here are two more wrestlers that I am with because of watching WCW when I was a kid, and it appeared when they both came. They both got music, by the way. Here we're modern. We're moving on up. They both had interest music and all that. And they both got cheered on the way out, so it seemed like it was a babyface versus babyface. And the crowd seemed really excited, and both guys are standing there and staring down. And then the bell rang. I don't know. These are two very capable performers, and at first it seemed like it was going to be a pretty decent match, and I don't know what happened. I don't know if they both ran out of gas way too quick, but it wasn't that great. Like, it seemed like they were both tired a minute and a half into the match or something. I don't know. It slowed down a lot.
Maybe they were tired.
And then the crowd turned. The crowd turned on them. Like,
yeah, they didn't seem too happy with the end.
No, even during the match, I heard some boring chants and stuff. I mean, there were two spots that were really good in this match. There was one spot where Barry flew over the fucking top rope and ended up outside. And even though he's tall, he obviously landed on his feet, but he like crashed his head into the table. That was a pretty good spot. The other one was when Dr. Death, for some reason, thought he could leapfrog over fucking 6'4" Barry Windham. And yeah, he took a headbutt right to the family jewels.
Yeah, that was oops.
And either one or two things happened. Either Dr. Death is one of the best sellers ever in the history of professional wrestling, or he took a really good nut shot. Because he sold that nut shot for a minute, and I kind of think that maybe it was a pretty hard nut shot because he was down for a while.
I think it was legit.
I do too. I don't think it was a working nut shot, folks. I think it was a legit one. And but yeah, the spot I mentioned after that, where Barry ended up outside and flew over the top and all that, he kind of sold being hurt. It took him a while to get back into the ring, and as soon as he got back in, Dr. Death just cradled him up, and match was over. And the crowd was pissed. So again, some of this older stuff, it's hard for me to find things on. I don't have any facts about this. I'm kind of guessing that maybe one of these guys were either hurt or out of shape because the pace changed very quickly. It ended up being kind of slow, kind of sluggish. Wasn't that great, kids? Wasn't that great? Other than the amazing headbutt nut shot and the flying over the top rope. So,
right.
Yeah, I just don't know. Not the greatest. You brought the crowd up and then you kind of killed them a little bit with this. Don't want to get too excited before the Skywalker match. I guess that's the problem. But both of these guys are definitely better performers. I remember both. Barry, I remember being a horseman, which he's not a horseman yet, and Dr. Death, I remember teaming up with Terry Bailey and Morty. That'll happen later. But as far as this match goes, I'm gonna give it 2 nut shots. So I'll give it.
I agree. It's not as bad as all those really bad ones from before.
Oh yeah,
but
no.
I'm gonna give it 2. Maybe you should jump higher.
I like it. Nice when you pulled out the. Yeah. Again, you're right though. It's not as bad as some of the stuff we've seen in the past. It's just either one or both of them were winded, and they had to slow it way down. So.
One is winded. Windham.
He'll be here all week, folks. He'll be here all week.
Unfortunately, this match was Dr. Death.
Oh, wow. You know what? Now I know he feels better. It's great to see him back. It's good to see them back. Well, I can tell you this. I don't want to spoil anything, but we don't have to see what's next. I know what's next. It's time for Night of the Skywalkers 2, kids.
Hooray.
Not only are we doing it again, but somehow we talked the Midnight Express and Jim Cornette into being in it again. They're hitting different opponents this time, but the Midnight Express and Jim Cornette are.
Jim Cornette was agreeable to that after last.
He's like, I'll only do it if there's no Bubba, because Bubba don't know how to catch me. As he's swinging his tennis racket. That was my best Jim Crockett voice, or Jim Cornette voice. I can't really do that high, squealy, whiny
right.
So, all right, let's check it out. Night of the Skywalkers, the second one, and the last one. Let's see what happens.
All right, here we go.
All right, so here we go. We made it through it. The second Skywalker match.
I think it was better.
Okay, now to be fair, I was just going to say this one was better. Part of that was this time it was the Rock and Roll Express and not the Road Warriors, so you had all smaller guys, which gave them a little more ability.
Gave them a little more room up there. I understand.
little more room up there to do some things. Bubba was here again, and right before the match even started, man, Bubba got a hold of Ricky Morton before he could get up top and gave him a sidewalk slam. It looked like he killed him. Like, Bubba is huge here, and I don't mean just he's a large man anyway. He's built big, but he's definitely bigger than he is when he becomes Big Boss Man later on. So, yes, to be fair, this one was a little more entertaining. Of course, all the girls were screaming. I'm surprised there weren't brawls flying because the Rock and Roll Express was super over.
There probably was, but they're women. They can't throw that high.
Wow.
Sexist comments.
Sexist coming in there.
That's
the tennis racket was.
It's cool. No women listen to this podcast.
Yeah. Wait a second. I'm pretty sure it says 2% of our audience is females. So
they're lies.
They're like, maybe Drunk Summer listens every once in a while. Maybe
Drunk Summer might, and I don't think Drunk Summer would have loved that joke.
Yes,
I think even Summer would enjoy it. So
this was what it was. There was some blood. There was a lot of tennis racket involved.
Yes,
a deadly tennis racket. One spot I liked is when let's see, it would have been Robert Gibson lifted the safety rail, like the rail up, and just started banging him in the head. He literally took apart part of the rail and just started bashing his head in with it. But I think the best part about watching these is you can just tell you could just watch their faces, and everybody's thinking the same thing. I just don't want to fucking hurt myself. We got to somehow pull off a match, but I just don't want to seriously get injured. You can see that on everybody.
I don't think you saw my text, but I am so glad Mick Foley
wasn't
here yet, because
Dude.
Mick Foley would be like, none of this pussy ass grabbing onto the scaffolding from below and then falling down.
Yeah,
he would be just like, toss me to the outside of the ring.
If Foley would have been in this, we would have saw that shit way before Hell of a Slug. Right, Foley just would have been like, and I think that was another problem with the match. I think they should have figured out a different way to end it, because in both matches, and don't get me wrong, I don't expect someone to take that bump and just fall off the fucking scaffolding, but both times it ends up being, hold on guys, let me get down here a little bit and crawl before you throw me off. So I get it, it's a safety thing.
No, I get it too, and I'm saying I'm glad Foley wasn't there.
Oh no, I know what you're saying. What I am saying is I think that was one of the problems with the Skywalker match, is you couldn't believably, other than unless Foley did it, you couldn't believably have guys thrown off that scaffolding.
Yeah.
It just kind of took away from but it was what it was. We don't have to watch another one. We can be thankful for that.
I don't know. I kind of enjoyed how they got the second one off by like
that one was kind of good. Yes.
Yeah.
No, that was actually a creative one. The second one, yeah, they did it a little creative. The first one was when Stan Lane was just kind of trying to I'm not going to bust your balls because you have the wrong version of the Midnight Express on your graphic. I'm not going to. Well, you'd be like, how do I know? I don't know the Midnight Express. No, they just changed. That is the actual original Midnight Express. Now Stan Lane is there instead of whatever that guy's name was, Robert. I don't know, whatever the fuck that guy's name was.
This
Anyway,
was
the
one
point
of the
is,
only pictures of the Midnight Express I looked and found that was not with titles. Like everybody had titles.
right. That's because they were champions a lot, so that would make sense. No, I'm just busting your balls. Who cares?
I'm kind of struggling on that, anyways. It's like every time I'm looking up someone, they're like, "Well, here's all the pictures of him with a title." I don't want a picture with a title unless I want it with a title.
Right. Well, we're still in that.
I don't want a title.
This one's a little different because there's not as many matches, but we're still in that phase where there's 375 titles. That, like when in Barry's match, he was fighting for the UWF title, but he was the Midwestern Heritage Champion or some shit. Like, what do we come on?
Oh no, I was trying to set up and get all the other cards done, but literally I don't know if you noticed how I did the title card the last round. Did you notice a little difference?
I did notice a little difference.
I put the title in the background. Well, I was going to do a bunch of these cards. Every single match after this one is all title matches.
All title matches.
And here's the problem. I can search those titles with the names they give me, but there's so many different versions of those titles. I don't know which one is going to be used for this for the match. So now I'm waiting to start the next match before I make the card, so I can see which actual title it is, like which version, so I can have the right version.
Right.
I didn't care enough about the Midnight Express about which version I had of them.
Right.
But these titles matter.
And I think the next match might even be a unification match. I think you have to deal with two titles in the next.
It is a unification.
Yeah.
Match. I'm not sure what I'm doing there, but we'll see.
As far as this one goes, I will be fair. This was way better than the first Skywalker match. It was entertaining, and you brought the crowd back up after they were kind of lost in that last match, because I think the Rock and Roll Express could have came out and sung the alphabet, and they all would have fucking screamed. I don't think it really mattered what they did. They were just super. The weird thing about the Rock and Roll Express is they were really hot for like a year and a half, and then just, and like they still wrestle today. But as far as the peak of their popularity, it lasted like one good strong year, and then they just kind of fizzled away. So there you go. All right. Well, I guess we got to rank this. It wasn't really a match, but it was definitely better than the first time we saw this, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it 2 mullets because Rock and Rolls have some impressive.
I think there's more than 2 there.
There definitely is.
I'm gonna go with 2. Don't tell Foley about this match.
Don't. You know what's funny? If you think about it, it's years away from now. But with you talking about Foley in my head, I thought, isn't it crazy that we're watching this insane, stupid shit here, and then in like 5 years from now, they fire Mick Foley being too crazy?
Right. They should have fired the person that
you booked this shit, and you want to fire Foley for crazy. He was never in a fucking scaffold match because, like you said, he would.
Scaffolding match was amazing.
Too much was what was fine, but Foley was too much.
But you have a guy who would have gladly done it and let you properly throw him off of it.
Yeah, it's just interesting when you go back and look at that.
Like taller, or around the same height as the King of the Ring, or not King of the Ring,
or as the Hell in the Cell. I bet it's around. I bet it's around the same height.
So I don't feel like it would have been any different if he would have got tossed from this. Maybe throw him into a.
Nope. The announce tables are right there. Yeah, the announce tables are right there. Foley would have took the ring bump too. Foley would have took that bump. He would have been like, yeah, throw me off that scaffolding.
Yeah, I might not be able to wrestle for the next couple years.
6 months.
Whatever.
All right. Well, there you go. It's time to move on to our next. I believe the next one is a TV title unification match. I think that's what we have coming up. So,
all right.
So let's check it out.
Go.
All right, so our next match was to unify the UWF and NWA World Television Championships, and it was Terry, soon to be the Red Rooster Taylor, against the evil Russian Nikolai Volkov, or sorry,
I don't.
Nikolai, wrong federation, Nikita Koloff, the evil babyface Russian.
I was gonna say this is actually pretty progressive in wrestling at this time to have a Russian be a face.
Right, remember, but the last Starrcade he was a face too because of the whole Magnum TA thing and blah blah blah. Yes,
I get that.
but
Still,
yeah, it was pretty progressive. What wasn't progressive was this fucking ridiculously long.
Oh, the match was
First of all,
horrible.
before this match started, we had to listen to this Freebird promo that was just horrible and went on way too long. And all I could think is, why are we doing this? But they needed time to take the scaffolding down.
They could have.
But we had to listen to Jimmy Jam.
Better.
We had to listen to Jimmy Jam Garvin give his own brother a blowjob during this promo.
I think our brother's glad we'll do this.
Ronnie's still gonna be champ when this is over. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so let me go to this, and here's what I think the problem with this was, and don't take this as I'm comparing, these wrestlers on the same level, but the point is, Nikita was more like a Goldberg type character in the fact that Nikita wasn't built to have long match. Nikita was not a great wrestler. Nikita went out there and destroyed people and steamboated them like Brock Lesnar, like Goldberg and all that. So you put him in the ring with a wrestler and you try to have a long match, and then you end up with this shit show where we have to watch 4 arm bars for 75. More than one arm bar. And again, this is a point you've brought up a long time ago. This doesn't work with, it's like you said about watching The Undertaker when he used to have the Hell's Gate, right? Yeah. Nikita's not a technical wrestler. I don't want to see Nikita Koloff hold a fucking arm bar. He's Nikita Koloff. He should be steamrolling over Terry Taylor. But yeah, there were a lot of holds, a lot of dead holds. I don't know. They tried to save it.
The second half was a little better. Once they stopped doing the arm bar, the beginning of the match, like half this match was literally, and if it wasn't bad enough that they were constantly stuck in arm bars, the announcer had to keep reminding us how long we were watching the arm bar. It's like he had him in the arm bar 5 minutes into the match, 25 minutes left in the match.
Yeah,
and most of that time was that arm bar. Then later, 10 minutes into the match, 20 minutes left in the match. Yeah. And he was still
in this fucking arm bar.
I mean, come on.
Yeah. I actually went and got an oil change, washed my car, mowed my yard, and I'm back. No, I'm just joking. It didn't need to be that long.
My wife had labor,
it was bad booking.
Had a child. 9 months went through. Oh, by the way, I found a wife. And
the arm bar is still going.
The arm bar is still going on.
Yeah. Yes. We just released our 1,000th episode of this podcast, and they're still in that fucking arm bar. That's what's.
My son is now 12, and he doesn't like wrestling because that arm bar is still going on.
Exactly. Like, what are we doing? Yeah, it was just bad booking. If they could have done more of the nonsense that started happening towards the end of the match with Eddie Gilbert getting involved and the classic heel stuff, could have had more of that, could have shortened it. Didn't need to have this long of a match. It just made it bad. I was never a huge Terry Taylor fan, but Terry Taylor is capable of having a good match, and he's capable of wrestling. It was just a clash of styles, and the way you chose to pull it off was just, that's Eddie Gilbert. They got involved, and there was like a chair shot to the kneecap, and then we did the classic. Terry had the figure 4, and he was reaching out so Eddie could, hold on to his hands to give him the leverage advantage. They're trying to sell it. JR's like, they'll have to break Nikita's leg before he taps out.
And they kept bringing up. They had to keep bringing up that Nikita. They're like, well, he's got that major upper body strength, so he's using that on that arm, that bar.
That arm bar.
For 28 years.
Because I know let's take JBL for example. His finisher was the clothesline from hell, and I know the way he wanted to do the whole match to prepare his opponent was work on the fucking arm. It has nothing to do with your finisher. It has nothing to do with Terry Taylor's finisher. made no logical sense. I'm going to set you up for the Russian sickle by taking your arm out. The fuck? You know, let's see. If you had to work a body part, Terry Taylor uses the figure 4, so maybe you should work on his legs so he can't put the figure 4 on you. That might have been a little more logical, but yeah, it was. And his Russian sickle came off weak too. His clothesline did not look very good.
After all that crap, I was happy to see it.
Yeah.
I was like,
well, and for a second,
over.
It looked like we were going to get another quick. There was a point where he just rolled Terry Taylor up. It looked like we were going to get another quick roll up victory, but that didn't happen. We had the old manager. You know, he bumped Terry Taylor and Eddie Gilbert bumped into each other, and then Nikita took advantage of it and hit the half-assed Russian sickle to end the match. Thank God. So there you go. You know, we were talking about this one was going to be better because it didn't have 14 quick crappy matches, but that doesn't mean I want
one long crappy match.
Yes, I do not want one long crappy match. Like, this was worse than the Skywalker match.
I mean, one nice thing is I'm familiar with almost every single wrestler we've seen so far.
I mean, that is a nice thing, is that we're getting some more familiar.
Now, some of these people are people that I've just already seen on these Starrcades, but most of them are at least some semi well known.
Yeah,
this was bad. This was bad.
I've never in my life wanted to watch a Red Rooster match more than I did after. Like, fuck this. Just give me a Red Rooster match. It's like the Ultimate Warrior or something. I don't know. Yeah, this was not good.
I feel like this was Karma's. Red Rooster was Karma's punishment for Terry Taylor being in this match. Karma was like, you're putting on some feathers on your head, going to you get to go to WWF. You get to be the dumbest character you've ever seen.
Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard and all those behind-the-scene guys can deny it all they want, but you know damn well you were definitely making fun of Terry. Like, really, at that time Terry Taylor was hot. He was like this huge star, and Vince snatches him up, and then he goes, "I got a good idea. You're going to be a cock." You know, come on. Like, that wasn't a same thing with Dusty and him trying to say that he wasn't trying to poke fun at Dusty by signing him and put him into polka dots. You know, like, come on. Yeah. You were fucking with Terry Taylor. You really were. Like, now Terry Taylor tries to claim that he was supposed to be Mr. Perfect, and that ended up going to Kurt Hennig. Yeah, I don't think Terry Taylor was ever going to be Mr. Perfect. Not at all. This was still back in the day when Vince was, like, you know, after everyone. So he would sign somebody just so he could have him, and then do some shit like make him the Red Rooster to, you know, make fun of the guy. Like, you work for me, you're going to do whatever the fuck I tell you to do, buddy. All right. But it was still better than this. So this was a stink fest. I guess I'm going to give it a 1 because we ended up with one champion at the end. So, and we had one armbar during the whole fucking 20 minutes of the match. So 1.
I'm going to go with 0.5 after that match. My arm wants to find a bar. Okay. Glug, glug, glug.
Shots.
Yeah, I'm going to go 4 so I can forget this match.
Everybody on the podcast get tipsy. Yeah, it was not. Yeah, it was definitely. I want to forget this ever happened. We need the thing. Look directly into this for me, like Men in Black. We need to flash ticket. Yeah. Exactly. All right. Well, we're gonna hope. I mean, I know our next match is the tag team title match, so let's hope that Arn Tully and the Road Warriors can entertain us some more than this.
God, I hope so.
Stink fat. Like, I'd rather go watch the Skywalker match again than watch this.
Yeah, that wasn't that bad.
No, it wasn't. This was the worst thing we've seen so far. Yeah.
It was. Agreed. 100%.
All right, well, let's wake back up and move on.
Here's the cover. Can he do it? Kick out at 2.
All right, here we go. So they redeemed themselves. Our next match is for the NWA World Tag Team Championship, and it's 4 Horsemen members: Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard defending against the Road Warriors. A couple things to point out. One, at this time, just so you know, the Road Warriors were actually using Iron Man as their entrance music, but of course they're not going to play that on the cock. They're not going to play that on the cock, so they dubbed it over with some just generic music. 2, they showed us in this match how you can work on an opponent's body part without putting the fucking audience to sleep. Just saying.
Right?
The The Horsemen were working Hawk's leg during this match, but at no point was it boring. Um, I gotta say, here's something that's fun about this when we go back, and especially going back this far. And I think I mentioned this before, but I don't remember a lot about Tully and Arn being a tag team, except for that brief run as the Brain Busters in WWE. But man, they are really good. I like these two as a tag team. They're fucking great heels. We're doing classic heel stuff, the selling, the running away, the isolating your opponent. And I was
Right.
always, even as a kid, believe it or not, I was always a huge Arn Anderson fan. I know Arn's not maybe the biggest guy in the world, but I thought Arn was believable to me. I believed that he could hurt somebody. So this was a great classic tag team match. I mean, I think this is good tag team wrestling. The ending was a little screwy, but we're in this era where it's illegal to throw your opponent over the top rope to the outside.
I'm
So
glad something happened with that. Like you've told me that that's illegal, and I'm like, oh, that's weird. But so far, I don't think any match has been decided because someone threw someone over the rope. And
yeah,
finally, we get one.
I don't
And
think
not
so.
and not only that, but it changed. Or no, they kept the titles. I was thinking it
Right.
changed hands,
It,
but I was wrong.
no, but that's how you get the heat, right? So what he's talking about is first the ref went over the top rope, and while he was still out there, Earl Hebner came out to check on Tommy Young. Tommy Young was the actual ref, so Earl Hebner came out to check on him, but they ended up throwing Arn over the top on the outside as well.
Right.
And then they pulled off a Doomsday device, and Earl Hebner counted the pin and gave the Road Warriors the titles. And then when Tommy Young came to, he said, "Nope, DQ because they threw Arn over the top rope." I'm pretty sure the Road Warriors still left with the belts too. They didn't give them back; they walked out with them. But technically, Tully and Arn are still your tag team champions. But that's a good way to. It was a good match. The crowd was pumped for the victory, and then you flipped on them and changed the finish, and then they got pissed off. So it's a good way to put heat on the Horsemen and get the crowd behind the Road Warriors. Good storytelling, and yeah, at least in the '80s, it made a little more sense that this was a rule. But they bring this back in WCW in the '90s when Bill Watts comes in to run it, and in 1992 or '93, whenever it was, that fucking top rope rule made zero sense.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't like it here either, but I can accept it a little more because it's the '80s, so it was a little different, But yeah, Tommy actually saw that move. So the Road Warriors do not win the tag team championships, but this was a good classic, fun tag team match. And like I said, they worked a body part and didn't make me want to take a fucking nap. So
One thing I noticed during this match is how different and how much safer the Doomsday device is.
did you notice that Doomsday
That's what
device
they
when they did it?
call. That's
Yeah.
what they call it. Because, like, at least in the years that we've been watching, when they do the Doomsday device, they get the clothesline on them and they like flip off of them, which has to be way more dangerous. Where this one, they kind of like fall backward like an electric chair drop. With
Exactly.
them has to be
Yeah.
a
So
lot safer.
yeah,
And
so what he's explaining is, Animal always has the guy on his shoulder. Animal actually went down with the guy instead
yeah,
of just letting him fly off of his. But I'm sure later on they changed it because it looked cooler, but it was more dangerous, and it was left to the person getting clothesline to be able to backflip and land right. So it was a lot. This was way more safer. It didn't look as devastating, but it was definitely way more safer.
it's just something I noticed. I noticed that the way
I
they
did too. I
did it
noticed it
was
right
way
away.
different.
And I don't think we've seen it yet. But to be fair, the only old Road Warriors match that we've seen to this point, I think, is the Skywalker match, and they sure the hell weren't going to do a Doomsday device in that. So
Right.
I think this is only our second time seeing the Road Warriors in this period in time. So, but yeah, you're right. It was different. I noticed it right away too. But that was definitely a way safer way to do the Doomsday device than what it ends up being later on. So
Agreed.
definitely
Yeah.
agree with. But yeah, entertaining. We all know I'm partial to tag team matches anyway. I think this might be the best match we've seen tonight so far. But I'm gonna give this 3.5 horsemen. There's a half a horseman missing. I don't know.
Technically, there's
JJ
only two.
JJ Dillon's the half horseman. Hmm.
um.
Uh,
Yeah, I enjoyed this match as well. Um. I'm trying to think of something, and I'm not. So I'm just going to go 3.
I'm
3.
trying to think of something. Something else that was, this is not really that important, but something else was a little different and a little weird to see was the way Animal had his face paint, because it wasn't, he didn't have colored in face paint. He just put like an outline on his face, which was a little weird too. I don't know. I just thought I'd point that out, but it was in Chicago, so they didn't care. Like LOD was in their hometown.
Yeah.
Also, I don't think I mentioned that this is actually on Thanksgiving night. You would never see that now with a pay-per-view, but back in the day, Survivor Series was the same way. I think when it first started too, it was actually on Thanksgiving. But of course, that's nothing we see today. So, all right, well, we made it through that. We know we have 2 matches left, and they're both.
We also heard the fans yelling bullshit.
We did,
and I think I heard,
and that might be the first time.
I think I heard some of them chanting CM Punk because it was Chicago.
Yeah, I'm sure they were. I'm sure they were. And in 1987, they were chanting CM Punk. Absolutely, they had to have been. But you are right. There were some bullshit chants. Chicago's always been. This proves even in 1987, like Chicago's always been a very passionate. Wrestling town for sure. So here we go. We got 2 matches left. Both title matches, both in steel cages. So it's going to be interesting to see, how good they're going to be and how different they're going to be, because you're doing it back to back. So you don't want to have the exact same match, one right after the other. So it'll be interesting to see how they do it. And of course, the first one's Dusty, and Cody, we love you, but so far, Daddy hasn't really impressed us much. Just saying.
That don't impress me much.
We haven't seen a Dusty Rhodes match yet and been like, wow, it's the American Dream, babies. Hasn't happened yet.
See, Shania Twain singing about this, like, so you're a world champion. That don't impress me much.
Especially because you're the booker and you put it on yourself. That don't impress me. Oh, Shania. That's a whole other podcast. Anyway, all right. Well, let's check it out. Let's see who Dusty's facing. Let's do it.
Having no problem with that balance, man.
Okay. I'm going to start off by saying, before we share our thoughts on this, first of all, Dustin and Cody, we love you. But the first words out of Tony Schiavone's mouth after this was, well, how do you top that? I don't know. Go back and watch fucking Nikita versus Terry Taylor. That's how you top that. That's bad. I hate to shit all over Dusty, but damn it. I mean, to be fair, it was the best Dusty match we've seen, but that doesn't mean it was good.
I was
more excited
about Lex Luger, actually.
Right. And there were also, by the way, there's things about this match that annoyed me that had nothing to do with Dusty. And I know it's the 80s, but this is a steel cage match. And as we all know, in a steel cage match, there are no rules. So referee, quit telling Luger he can't rake Dusty's face or he can't choke him on. There's no fucking rules. Why did we need a ref bump through a steel cage or to throw a chair in it? It's a steel cage match. You don't need the ref bump. There's no rules. Why are you trying to sneak? I don't know. Those little things irritate me. I just didn't understand the ref bump wasn't necessary. It's a steel cage match. There's no disqualifications.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Like, why did we... Besides that, we had the Revenge of the Armbar. It made more sense than this because Lex's finisher is the torture rack. But it just slowed the pace down. Dusty's comeback was pretty good. And the crowd was into it. He did his elbows and his this and, the jiving, which is real good. And then he hit this thing that was supposed to be a DDT. And I don't know what the fuck it actually was. I mean... And part of it could have been Luger not knowing how to take it. I don't know, but it was pretty much just a straight down face flat. Yeah. And then Dusty accidentally hit what looked like kind of a cool drop kick because he fucked it up and he ended up kicking Luger with only one foot. So it was actually a mistake that kind of ended up looking cool. But yeah, man, it was what it was. I might have exaggerated. I guess it wasn't. literally, I guess it wasn't as bad as Terry versus Nikita. But
No,
it
it
wasn't
wasn't
good.
that bad, but
It wasn't that bad, but it's just not. And then I know we have to leave the realm of believability behind in wrestling. That's fine, but he couldn't pick Dusty up for a torture rack because he was too heavy. But he could give him a piggyback ride while he's putting a fucking sleeper on him. I'm just saying, not logic. Like, I know it's a little different, but if Dusty's so heavy he can't torture rack, and Dusty literally just wrapped his leg around, I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The devastating sleeper hold. So the finish though saw this first. What happened was JJ knocked out the guy that had the fucking key to the cage. So JJ was going to try to go into the cage, then he dropped the key. And then when Earl went over to yell at him, that's when the ref bump happened. Dusty accidentally sent Luger into JJ or into the ref, whatever, and then knocked the ref out. Then JJ took a chair, threw it into the cage, and instead of Luger getting to use the chair, Dusty stood up and hit another one of those, whatever the fuck DDT was supposed to be, right onto the chair, and that's how he beat Luger with that half-ass DDT on the steel chair. And Dusty's career was on the line, so. And that's another thing that bothered me. This is a storytelling thing, right? And I get it that logically, because the torture rack Lex is finished, then it makes sense to have that armbar. But if you're fighting with your fucking career on the line in a steel cage, are you even worried about an armbar? Like, don't you think Dusty should have fought with a little more intensity because his career was on the line? Do you understand what I'm saying? Isn't it logical that if you're in a cage where you can literally go above and beyond and you're fighting for your career, is an armbar something you're even gonna fuck with? Like, I don't know. I don't know. But the crowd was into it. I guess it might just be us. I mean, 1980s crowd loves it. Maybe we just are Dusty haters. I don't know.
We might just be Dusty haters. I don't know.
Look, and it's not everything. Dusty did a lot for this business. Dusty was very creative. I'm just not a fan of the in-ring work, but Dusty did a lot of other shit that I'm all for. Like, we have War Games thanks to Dusty. So Dusty did a lot of stuff, but I just haven't seen anything in the ring that makes him. And like you said before, he's supposed to be now in this case, he's an underdog. Yes, in this particular match, you can buy him as an underdog because Lex Luger's in way more shape. But like you said, it's just hard to get behind him as the underdog and the, all that, the common man thing. But again, I just think that the reason, and I'm not trying to shit on him, but I still think the reason he was so popular, I mean, you still have to get over, but you're the booker and you put yourself in this main spotlight all the time, it's pretty easy to get over. I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I have a hard time getting into Dusty. I never have been a fan.
Me too.
Rage, I remember always liking him, but I don't get it.
But again, even with Rage though, I bet that was the WWF stuff. That was the polka dot dancing, Yeah, and I think, because to be honest, and you guys should have already watched it. Yeah, you guys should have already watched when he had that feud with Randy Savage and he had Sapphire. You remember all that? That was all WWF.
I remember
Dusty
Sapphire,
had that manager named Sapphire. Yeah, and had that great feud with Randy Savage. I just think that in a way that polka dot character worked better than I'm the common man, son of a plumber, underdog. And then you go on to in the ring and you face, Ric Flair, who's 100 pounds smaller than you, and we believe you're the underdog. That's right. But yeah, I mean, so it could have been worse. The armbar wasn't on too long. It was just, it's hard for me to get behind Dusty. I think more effort would have been put in. I don't think it went the way it should have when your career is supposed to be on the line. I didn't feel urgency that he thought he had to win because his career was on the line. So the storytelling wasn't the best, but I'm still I'll give it 2. I don't even have anything for it, but I'll give it 2.
Right. 1.5 put me in a sleeper holds.
Put me in a sleeper holds. Yeah, sorry, Dusty. Yeah. But we're just going to keep getting better and better. I think Luger's already been, but now we're seeing Luger, we're seeing Sting. Yeah, I mean, we're about to get some juicy stuff, We're about to see the Nature Boy break out a little more. So, and that's what we got next. It's main event time. But if I'm correct, I believe, we know because Ronnie Garvin is actually going into this as champion. Ric Flair is challenging for the heavyweight championship inside of a steel cage. So
hopefully this is better.
Yeah, because we haven't got to see a great Ric Flair match either, and I don't know if this will be the one. But let's check it out.
Here's the cover. Hook to the leg. He did it. He did it.
What are you doing over there? All right, here we go. So it's main event time, and it is a steel cage match for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. It's the champ Ronnie Garvin defending against the Nature Boy Ric Flair, who, by the way, over the weekend was at the Tampa Bay game. If you didn't get to see that, he was
I
at the
did see
playoff
him.
game
Yeah, I watched it.
Yeah, to hype up Tampa Bay, which there's a story we didn't talk about, but that we can't get into that. But Baker Mayfield, that's another story in the NFL right now. What a turnaround he's had. But anyway,
yeah.
I'm going to start off by saying this exceeded expectations. I enjoyed this match.
I was not in a sleeper hold on this match, so yeah.
Right. I enjoyed this match. Not saying it was a 5-star, but it doesn't matter. We've seen some really bad Starrcade main events. We really haven't got to see an excellent Ric Flair match, and I'm not saying this was excellent, but this is probably the best Flair match we've seen, and I didn't expect this out of Ronnie Garvin. This was a hard-hitting, this was a fight. This wasn't a wrestling match. This was a fight. Those chops, I felt those chops from both guys.
Oh my gosh, they look.
I didn't know Ronnie Garvin could fucking chop like that, man. Like, we all know how Flair can chop. There's no question there. But yeah, I didn't know Ronnie had that in him. Like, that was.
So I don't know if I would consider this the best Flair match. I feel like some of those WWE matches might have been better. But
I didn't watch it. I didn't watch those with you though.
Fair enough. But I remember one being very, very, very Flair. Like,
he had some good ones.
He was full on Flair, and I was like loving it. So,
and it was probably his WrestleMania match with Macho Man. That's probably the one that
might have. I think there was also a tag team match he was in that was really fun.
That was Survivor Series. Yep.
Being very
overly Flair.
Yeah, overly Flair.
Yes.
It was great.
Yes, and we got to see some of that in this. So you're right. You've probably got to see some of them, but this is the first exposure for me on the podcast.
This is probably the best WCW or NWA match we've seen from him
so far. Yes, yeah. Let me put it that way. Yes, best NWA match so far.
Yeah.
And like I said, my expectations with Ronnie Garvin weren't. I've never been a huge Ronnie Garvin fan. He's fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with him, but it's whatever. But this was good storytelling. The cage got used, at least in this one, when the ref was doing some of that stuff, like trying to count for breaks and all that. The commentators explained he knows it's not going to stop it. He's just trying to control the match. So at least you're putting some logic behind the ref. So it's kind of like muscle reflexes. What we're supposed to think it's like a muscle reaction, right? If he does that, he thinks he'll still be able to control them, even though he can't actually stop anything. So at least they put some logic. It had great back and forth action and so many like kind of like Rocky Balboa moments. Like when Ronnie Garvin got the figure 4 on Ric Flair, the place was going fucking crazy, and Flair sells like there's no tomorrow. The screaming and agony. Right. He's already busted open at this point, and it's just Flair screaming like a little bitch. Like, I guess I'm so excited because even though this ain't like a 5-star match, my expectations were really low, and it was a pretty good fun match. It had really good story, like I said, and they used cage. There was an unnecessary ref bump again. I think these refs just like taking bumps back in the day. Like nothing even happened. Nothing even happened with that ref bump. Like it was literally just, I'm gonna take a bump. Fuck it. Why not? I don't know. I don't know what the point of that was, but yeah, great match overall. Good finish. I thought it was gonna end at the one point when Flair that like quick pin and was holding the ropes. Like when he kind of rolled around, I thought that's where it was gonna end.
Right.
But he managed to kick out. There were all those couple of quick false finishes at the very end of the match there. But in the end, man, the Nature Boy wins, and he's the world champ once again, bloody and all. Good way to end the pay-per-view. Overall, it was a pretty solid Starrcade, and probably one of the better ones just because it was more of a normal pay-per-view instead of a fucking marathon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, it was a good main event. It was decent. I like it. I'm gonna give it 3.5 woos. Woo!
Yeah, no, I thought it was decent as well. It was entertaining, fun. We got a little bit of Flairisms.
We did. We got the fall. You always love the fall. The walk.
I always love the face.
I love that too. That's
love the
face plant's classic.
But yeah, I enjoyed this. It was It's decent. I'm going to give it a 3. Figure fours. I don't chops. 3 chops. It was some chops.
3 chops. We saw. I think we might have saw 3 figure fours because they kept like going back and forth with them, and they were getting reversed over a lot of figure fours, a lot of chops. My chest still hurts.
Right.
Watching all these chops. Could you save the yawning for when he's done? You see how I keep him so awake here? He's so entertained by me.
He's waking my
that
ass
he's over
up
there fucking yawning. He's still trying to wake up from the Dusty Rhodes match. I apologize.
Right. No, right. Exactly.
Literally.
100% what's going on.
All right. Well, we made it through, and now we get to pick some matches.
Alrighty then. Let's do that. Let's pick some matches.
Pick
some matches.
Favorite match of the night.
All right. So favorite match of the night. I was actually trying to think about it. But I'm going to go with the main event because I wasn't expecting it to be as entertaining and fun as it was, and it exceeded my expectations. And if I remember right, I think pretty much every Starrcade we've watched, the main event has not been that great. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Flair and Garvin, Steel Cage, world title, the main event.
I'm trying to think, and I can't think of anything that was better than the main event. Nothing stood out. I mean, nothing was. Well, there was some things that was really bad, but
the other one I was considering would have been the tag match between the Road Warriors and Arn and Tully. I'm sorry, that was the other one I was considering was the tag.
Yeah, no, that would have been a contender, but I still think the main event was better. So I agree with you.
Yeah. So pretty easy, but it's good to see. Like you usually do want the main event to be one of the best matches. That's kind of the point of it being the main event. So
right.
Glad that happened. All right. Well, I wonder what the worst match was. Red Rooster. I have a little tickle in my throat. Sorry.
I can tell.
Worst match.
Let's see. No, I'm just joking. Worst match of the night was Terry Taylor and Nikita. It was just horrible. It was the saga of the 40-minute armbar. It was bad. It was like Castaway. It was like Castaway, and that armbar was the soccer ball, or the volleyball, whatever that was.
So I'm going to go a slightly different direction.
Alrighty.
I think technically that match is probably the worst match of the night. However, I had higher expectations for the Dusty Rhodes cage match, and it really bored the shit out of me. I can't say I had that big of high expectations from the Red Rooster. And oh my gosh, by the way, we almost forgot to mention how I felt offended for Russia when
oh my gosh,
finally tried. Like, this is the guy who said that never bothered trying to do a Russian accent, right? Right? This is that guy?
No, Smash was the one that never used a Russian accent. Nikita always tried.
Yeah, well, it was not good.
He's from Minnesota, by the way, but yeah, that was horrible.
It was not good.
Was there a good promo in this fucking thing? Like, none of them were good.
No, because
nobody should have talked.
We didn't get no Dusty. We didn't get no Ric Flair.
But Nikita went too long. His accent's horrible, and then all he kept repeating was number 1 TV champ, number 1 TV. God, yeah, it was bad. You're right. Poor Russia. We're sorry.
It was really bad. But no, I wasn't expecting much from that match.
No, I agree with you, and it makes sense. It was a semi-main event. It should have been better than it was. So yes, that pick cannot be. That's definitely a good pick. You can't argue it.
I mean, you can't.
And I'm actually kind of shocked. I didn't pick it because my biggest bitch was I didn't feel like Dusty was making it look like his career was on the line. Like that effort and the attack was there. So I'm surprised I didn't.
You wanted more desperation from Dusty.
Yeah, and some more, you do whatever I have to do to win this thing, not do what I do every match to win it. No, but whatever. Anyway, so
I
there you
guess
go.
for me, it's just like they make such a big deal. Like they've back in the day, Dusty was such a big deal, and I'm not seeing it. And I was hoping, I'm still
To see it,
hoping that I'll see
yeah,
what everybody else sees.
it's not over yet, so we'll see.
I'm just not seeing.
Yeah, me neither. And here in a couple years, he's going to be in the WWE. So
Uh-huh.
I don't remember exactly when he goes, but it's like 90, 91, I'm thinking, something like that.
Yeah,
So,
it was a short stint.
yeah, it was. So, all right. Well, we watched and we picked. Oh, I know what time it is. It's time to rank them.
That's right. We've got quite a few of these. This is 5, right?
This is number 5.
Oh, why did I put that one up? I put the wrong one up. My bad.
Well, I mean, that is what we just did, kids, in case you missed it.
Oh, I even clicked on that. I swear.
Starrcade Rankings.
All right, so here we go. I got to take a quick look back here before I can do my rankings. We do these spread out, so sometimes you forget. I just want to take a quick glance at what was my number 1 Starrcade real quickly. Let's see what I remember. Okay. All right, so there we go. All right, I am ready to rank them now. I just had to take a quick peek.
Right.
And here we go. So we have 5 of these now. That's all we have. And I'm going to go from worst to first. So at number 5, I have Starrcade 1. At number 5, I have Starrcade 2. At number 4, I have Starrcade 1. At number 3, I have Starrcade 4. And at number 2, I'm going to put this one, Starrcade 5, and I'm going to keep Starrcade 3 as my favorite.
Okay. For me, I'm going with Starrcade 2 at number 5. Starrcade 1 at number 4. I have Starrcade 3 as number 3. Starrcade 4 at number 2. And this is probably my favorite Starrcade. There's some bad matches, but none of them compared to the way too long and way too many bad matches from the past.
True. This was a normal pay-per-view with a normal format and a normal amount of matches. And a better main event than I actually had Starrcade 3 as my number 1. That's why I wanted to look real quick. Or Starrcade 4, whatever. Yeah, I had to look back before I did my rankings. But anyway.
I'm surprised I had Starrcade 4 as my top before this one, but there must have been more that I forgot that it's pretty decent about that one.
Well, I know one of the big things about that Starrcade we both enjoyed was the Rock and Roll Express against Arn and Ole in the cage, the titles. That was one match on that Starrcade that was really good.
Yeah, there was some actual legit fun stuff over there. I forgot. Yeah.
There was. Yeah. So.
But.
All right. We picked them. We ranked them. And we get to do something we haven't done in a while. And again, we apologize for the hiatus. We are back, and forbid that we shouldn't be gone again for a while. Hopefully, we're here for the next few weeks. We even had some troubles today, but we made it through it and figured out how to make it work. So now all we got to do is plug some pluggables.
Oh yeah, we do plug some pluggables.
We do have to plug some pluggables.
Well, you can find me at Dragon Blazer Productions on the Facebooks, the Instagrams, the YouTubes, the TikTokies. You can also find me at Dragon Blazer Pro on the X. I think I'm also on Threads, maybe at Dragon Blazer Productions.
Threads. He's all over the place, kids.
That's a thing, I think, right?
I'm old. I don't. Sure. I don't. You know me. I'm Mr. Social Media.
But I haven't checked it at all, so I'm not sure if I'm. They might have kicked me off by now. I don't.
I'm working on being Mr. Social Media, and I'm trying to bring those social media followers to actually come and listen to the podcast.
During my sickness, you have put up some interesting interviews. Like I'm proud of you on your TikTokies.
And well, yeah, and see, we're almost at 300 followers on the TikTokies. If we could just get the 280 people that aren't listening to this to come from TikTok and actually listen to the, that's what I'm working on next. But I got some stuff up my sleeve. We're gonna
bold of you to assume that the 20 people that listen to our podcast are on your TikTok.
I'm gonna assume, the 20 people I know. Speaking of my TikTok or ours and many other things, of course, we have the Facebook page, the Boomer Blaze Show Facebook page. You can follow us at Boomer_Blaze on Instagram and X. And then we were at the Boomer and Blaze Show on the TikToks. And yes, follow us, like us, rank us, listen to us. You can catch us anywhere you listen to your favorite podcasts. Next week, we are back on the WWE timeline, and we will be watching Capital Carnage. We have one-off. Capital Carnage from the UK. A one-off pay-per-view. Yeah, we will not be ranking this one. This only happens once. So there you go. Capital Carnage, December 6th, 1998 from London, England. That's going to be next week. So there you go. Until then, it's so good to be back. Don't forget to follow us, share us, tell your friends about us, and all that good stuff. Until then, this has been the Boomer Blaze Show. I am Boomer.
Well, I'm Blaze.
You're Blaze. And we will see you next week. And good night from Dragon Blazer Studios.
Hey everyone, this is Blaze from the Ragin' Blaze and the Boomer and Blaze show. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe for more wrestling content.